It's 14th February 2013. It's Valentine's Day, hooray. And this is a kind of, it's a little diary, which I might start keeping from now, which I may or may not make available to the public. That's for you to know, me to find out. But I guess that gives it away. I can't help but perform it, and there's a reason for that. Well, first of all, I'm an arrogant show-off. And then secondly, it's because my education ended effectively when I was 16, very effectively. It was a large part of it was school's fault, a large part of it was my fault. But the other thing was that I discovered the Oval House Art Centre at the age of 16. Discovered the world of improvisation, creativity. There was no drama curriculum at my old boys Catholic grammar school because, you know, drama is the devil's work. So it was this whole world full of also this new breed of person that I'd ever met, someone from the middle class. Because I think people often assume because of the way that my voice sounds that I'm a nice middle class boy. But the reality is that my parents were Irish, my dad was a carpenter, and my mum was a part-time dinner lady at the Polytechnic of the South Bank. And when we moved to London when I was 12, from then on we lived in council estates till I left home eventually around 18, 19. So the only voices that were ever around in my house were Irish voices, and I was 12 when we arrived in London. I was born in Bournemouth, and my early years were in Bournemouth, and I hated London. So I never picked up the accent. So I may sound a little bit poncy and know what I'm talking about, but actually I really know fuck all when it comes down to it. Because from the point that I discovered improvisation, I've never had a proper job. So I just improvised, and that was it. And I ran away and joined the circus. So that's to explain why this might be a performance. It's all I know how to do these things. So if it ends up with just me watching it, Jesus, you're losing your mind. So, the recent days. Well, this time last week was my birthday. I'm 58. Yes, I know. Yes, it is quite old. Get over it. And it was a great day. It was a really, really good day. Partly because my best friend Steve Steen came round. I've known Steve since I was 12. We met at school in London. He was, in fact, his maiden name is Steve MacDonald. So Stevie Steen, he's my best friend, and he's the bestest best friend that anybody could ever wish for. I have never laughed as much, as loudly, and for as long with anyone more than I have with Steve Steen, and that's off stage or on stage, which I know some viewers say is terribly unprofessional, and I would say you're absolutely right, but I don't care. He makes me laugh. He's a great improviser. He fully commits. He puts focuses entirely on the gig, no matter what his state of health. You know, he might not be in the best of health for a number of reasons. Alcohol! But he's always fully there, does it, knows what he's doing, has always improvised, does improvisations that I can't do, says things that I would never say. He's a great physical comedian, but that's enough blowing smoke up his arse. Never done it before, won't be doing it again. And it was, no, wait a minute. No, there was that time, early 70s, Amsterdam. Oh yeah, we hadn't been abroad before, we were both young, same background. Sharing a hotel room, I was smoking at the time. Oh, we're a little drunk, maybe a little homesick. I don't know, it just seemed like something worth trying. Anyway, that's not the point. What was the point? The point is these diaries are going to happen because, yeah, I can't write blogs anymore because of my dandelion brain. It's like the thoughts can't hold on to my brain long enough before a whisper of another thought comes through and blows the original thought away. So anyway, back to my birthday, dandelion brain at work. So yeah, Steve was there and lots of things happened. But the next day, which was the 8th, yeah, I do remember my maths from school, I suddenly felt down. It wasn't like a major depression. It wasn't like, you know, the black clouds swarming in and surrounding me and a whole, oh, what's the point of living, and I must listen to some Celine Dion. It wasn't anything like that. It was just, I felt, you know, a little bit down, yeah, miserable. And it lasted through the next day. It was the kind of down that somebody might feel if, you know, I imagine those of you who might have taken some kind of drug that makes you feel very upbeat and happy and love everyone, you know, at a party or something that you've been to, and you know, a couple of days later you feel down and depressed. I imagine that I'd have no experience because my attitude to drugs has always been the same since the late 80s. You know, as if somebody says, "Do you want to try this drug?" I always say, just say, depends what the payback is, because there's always payback. You know, with any drug, doesn't matter what it is. As I outlined actually in my critically acclaimed but award overlooked 2004 one-man show, My MS and Me. It was about me and my MS. And it was repeated on Radio 4 Extra over New Year's. And there was a flurry. It was really nice of lovely messages on Twitter and emails, and but no letters. Nobody writes letters anymore, do they? It would be nice to receive a letter. Not me personally, because my eyesight's fucked and I couldn't read it anyway. So I was feeling down. I couldn't figure out what it was. And then Saturday, just after I'd taken the medicinal marijuana, I lied about the illegal drugs. I'd taken the medicinal marijuana, which, since I got MS, greatly reduces the spasms in my leg. And it kind of opens up my mind. It sounds weird, but it's made me more stoned than it ever made me when I smoked it when I was younger. Now, possibly because I smoke it pure. I don't have any tobacco in it because, I want cancer. And possibly that, but possibly because my resistance to all drugs is very low. I find it really opens my mind up. You know, the evil marijuana fairy very rarely visits, so it's always the positive one. And I have great thought. It must be like the Beatles when they were in Abbey Road making that seminal album, Sgt. Pepper's Rubber Revolver. You remember the one? And this moment sort of hit where everything disappeared, and I can't explain it. It was a series of different images, and just a whole bunch of things came together. It was like, on my birthday, my one-year-old godson came around, and he was walking with the confidence of like a child of about 18 months, or maybe even 2 years, quite striding around. I was really struck by it. But he would occasionally lose his balance and fall forward. But he had a little cloth in his hand. And so whenever it happened, he'd get down and start rubbing the floor and cleaning it. So it looked like he was going, I meant to do that. I was going to clean the floor. That sort of flashed through my head. An awareness that earlier in the year, in January, I needed people to be here at night to put me to sleep. Not literally, but that's a point that needs to be raised. But no, just to flatten out the bed that I lie on the night. So all of my friends, my wonderful friends, came out. But I was just particularly struck with conversations that I had with Lizzie Roper. She's at LR Tweets on Twitter, and Angela Clerkin, who I think is at Angela Clerkin on Twitter, and Stella Duffy, who is, I think, at Stella Duffy on Twitter. And through conversations with them, and obviously an ongoing conversation with my partner and how she helps me, and the strength I draw from my beautiful daughters, both of them, and from my other lifelong friend Sita, who is, I think, has the closest upbringing as me. You know, we both came from the same kind of background, and and she's one of the strongest people I know, and is just a friend who's always been there for me, and it's completely unconditional. It's wonderful. But through all of that, I realised that my seemingly, I always thought, impeccable feminist credentials need to be well and truly checked over. So that had gone through my head. For some reason the film Source Code popped in as well. And my daughter's To Die For lemon drizzle cake. And also I remembered, and over that time I developed a strategy to kind of automatically bounce me out of these sort of dark moods when they fall, which is really good, but I'm not going to explain it to you or else you think I really will have lost it in the brain box. And that was it, and I was back to normal. And back to normal means I know full well that the MS is going to keep doing what it's doing. And I think it may have come around partly because I'm now in the bad bit. This is the bit that I'm heading for where I really don't want to be here. And that day's not that far away. It's still off, but it's not far. When I'm not going to want to be here because my body's going to become horrible. Now, it's partly me, but as much as anything, I don't want my family, especially, but all my friends, to see me as I'm barely able to hold on to life. You know, everybody knows that I support assisted death. That's the more observant amongst you, or perhaps more accurately those of you who are still awake, would have noticed that this is a different angle. And also the lighting's a little bit different because, well, by lighting I mean the sun isn't streaming in quite as well as it was yesterday, because it's the 15th. You can also probably tell because I haven't shaved. See that there? No, you can't see it? Well, I don't have a very strong beard line. But you know, so what? Doesn't make me a mutant. What actually followed was a kind of really intense, hot-tempered, quite pugilistic debate, which is weird because I was in here on my own, on assisted death. And I thought, you know, if I post this and it can be seen by anybody, then it'll just end up getting a load of comments from fundamentalist idiots who believe that, you know, the world was created a week ago last Thursday, and saying things like, you'll never get to heaven if you commit suicide, which is bollocks anyway. But interestingly, it was the original working title, which he then changed from you'll never get to heaven if you commit suicide to you'll never get to heaven if you break my heart, which just scanned a lot better for Dion Warwick. So look, let's forget this whole episode. I tell you what, we'll treat it as one of those ugly, inexplicable, random cuts that suddenly started appearing in early 70s British films. It was an innovation, this kind of blindfold editing that was brought to cinema by Michael Winner. Let's return to the original diary. So there we are. I think I'm sort of going through a phase. I'm going to end up like Denzel Washington in The Bone Collector. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a kind of a Hollywood film. He's in bed, he can't move, he can only move his head, he only has his voice and brain, which is a lot more active than mine, and he solves crimes. And the film starts with him, wanting to die. He doesn't want to be there, wants to die. Then a case comes along that gets his interest going, and he's hooked, and he's hooked. And by the end of the film, of course, he no longer wants to die. He's saved by Hollywood. I love Hollywood. I've loved Hollywood. I love Hollywood, and I will continue to love Hollywood. But I'm not going to be saved by Hollywood. So, here we go into the day. A day that's fraught with possibilities, as David Tomlinson said in Mary Poppins. Fraught with opportunities. But first, a cup of green tea, I think.